We're continuing to look at the trainings that one engages into to first cultivate a Mahayana path and then continue in one's progression along the Mahayana paths. To first generate a Mahayana path in one's continuum, one generates love and compassion and develops those into the mind of enlightenment, bodhicitta. Having generated bodhicitta, one trains in the practices of a bodhisattva. And of those 6 perfections, the 6 perfections that bodhisattvas train in, last week we completed the 4th, that of joyous perseverance. And tonight we'll start to look at the 5th, that of concentration.
Di Kugurba, the names that are something Yaman Chebalaya, that's something Yaman Jake, Jalia, and Yahoo, Sambekitelia, and two Samba Kugurba, that the names that, and that to do it, that Kivicha, Kanesiline, and checking Yam the Yavachira.
The 4th perfection, that of joyous perseverance, which we looked at over the preceding 2 weeks, that is defined as the mind that delights in virtue. And therefore, it's a mind that we should generate with all our virtuous activities, because it ensures that we bring them quickly to completion and in an excellent manner. And so too with concentration. Concentration is also a mind that relates to virtuous objects. So therefore, both of these minds should be cultivated and engaged in with all our virtuous endeavors.
That's something Lam Rim Text said, something said to Shinegi, that top Tawiki, that Lam Text, Dupiki, Lam Text, something in Lam Sigurwa, something said that is Shine top charge, Shinegi, Dupiki, that's Shebi Rick, Loganation, something said Chagore, something said.
Concentration, or maybe it's clearer to use the term meditative concentration. This is something that is generated, is attained or achieved by someone who has attained calm abiding. So therefore, through the cultivation of calm abiding, one has achieved meditative concentration.
Something like some sending on same thing is in the core, thing is some thing is in some say. Then see the thing is in the Ukarelia, me by in a dele mutu, and it says you the near to Yaki, Guamado, mutu, near to Yaki, the nigger some logilla, there's some dance I think to get, then there are Zoroji, Goya, Jadendroji in the Chagore.
The etymology of the word samten, or meditative concentration, or the Sanskrit is samadhi, if I remember, dhyana. No, that's the other one. Samadhi. No, that's Tingasin. There's something here. Apparently it's dhyana, shamatha being shine. So the Sanskrit being dhyana is when one holds the virtuous object continuously, single-pointedly. So the 2 words, samten, sam being mind. So here we can take it to mean meditative stabilization. And then it engages with its object, holding it continuously.
That's something said, that's all something said, come, Goma, Sukta, Sumi, come Gomigi, and Shebi Go Cuba Chila, then also Debigi, Kasagi, Sheba Mayimba, come Gomigi, and Sheba Denigi Sheba Chiku or something said, didn't she? That's Sule, you're Sume, or that is Suna Sume, or Chidan, come Gomigi Sheba Saji.
The term meditative concentration or dhyana is used in different contexts, so there are many different types of meditative concentrations. And so these tend to be the varying minds of, or these are the varying minds of the form and formless realms, of the 2 higher realms.
군도 ngase jurwa jisan shine ju na shine de da nyum du ye de gen de ni gi 군도 ngayungure ane sem zo sem ju di chasan samde re jisan samde le rik mango yo re sem shine jurwa shine da nyum du chungde ye sem yo re sem di khodo juwe chowa du she sem ba yile je ba ra ba 군도 ngayungure de chasan samde re chasan samde re se word so 김전 시기입니다. 병이네. 신내여와 신내의 딩이지로와 대당 손등이 셈지여와 셈진상 셈 콜레 군종가 용으로와 대수차상 삼대래서 대대 삼대로 초와 요래 두시 요래 셈바 일레제바 라과 인지미지 신내랑 찍불 거예요. 말씀달래. 진짜 삼대는 셰럽 요래 dimbame바 잠바 딩이지 셰럽서 요와 대수차상 삼대 신내의 념도 요되게 되는 차상 삼대래. 진짜 삼대에서 인지미지 신내를 거예요. 말해. 신의 단념도 요대 신의 단념도 요되게 유행하용으로와 유행하 차상도 말와 신의 줍차제 신의 톱네 신의 단념도 요게 유행하용으로와 뒤차상 삼대네.
The word then that's translated in the context of perfection of concentration, samten, is also in other contexts translated as absorption. So these, it's the same Tibetan word, but in different contexts it's translated differently. And then it's in the context of the absorptions of the form and formless realm, where it's most applicable to the Sanskrit word of dhyana. So this term then, samten, we must understand that there are also not only many different types, but many mental factors which will accompany it, and they will all be included within concentration or meditative concentration. So when a single-pointed concentration has been achieved, it is accompanied by the 5 omnipresent mental factors of feeling, discrimination, intention, mental engagement, and contact. And this particular mental factor of mental engagement, or rather usually stabilization, when this is what is cultivated into single-pointed concentration. So it will be accompanied by the other 4 omnipresent mental factors, as well as the 5 object ascertaining mental factors of aspiration, belief, mindfulness, stabilization, and wisdom. Maybe not all 5 of them, but certainly many of them. So, I made a mistake there. Okay, sorry, I just made a mistake there mentioning the mental factors. So when one develops single-pointed concentration, or as it's been called here, then concentration itself, meditative concentration, then this mind of concentration is accompanied by mental factors. So it will be accompanied by all 5 omnipresent mental factors of feeling, discrimination, intention, mental engagement, and contact. It will also be accompanied by several or perhaps all 5 of the object ascertaining ones. Certainly it will have the object ascertaining mental factor of stabilization, because it is this mental factor, tingazin, which is developed into concentration, as well as probably the most of the other object ascertaining mental factors of aspiration, belief, mindfulness, and wisdom.
아니마 데킬이 당아서 가봐 삼델라 랍춘이 있으러다 라가봐 당아서 파진 주인 나네 당분가 바디 책으로 삼댕이면 디바 롭존 제 랍추딜라 가리라나 다 심기 유군의 랑디에서 당아서 태바 침비기 파진 주인 냠내나 삼대기 파진 냠내 제당고 시그로 앉아 다 군로딜레 심기 유군의 랑데 안델야 온콤바딜라네 삼덴텔라 가리어스네 지딘레 디베 삼덴이스 다 삼덴델랑 모여고네 바이와 체바이나 지딘베 삼데사다 지딘레 데베 삼데사디 니용고레 제레.
Now turning to the text, we're on page 44. So my translation is slightly different from what you have there, but the meaning is the same. Certainly in the first bullet point, the part of what's in the first bullet point actually comes at the end of the Tibetan, so I'd rather follow the Tibetan because it will be in accordance with Genla's translation. So the first point then starts with a motivation of bodhicitta. So that's the very first point, because we are in the context of the trainings of a bodhisattva. So therefore, there will be a motivation of bodhicitta. And now we come to the presentation of the different ways, the different divisions of meditative concentration, the different ways to divide it. So, when divided by essence, there are two: ordinary and transcendent meditative concentration. Or the translation before you is mundane and supramundane concentrations. So when divided by, when meditative concentration is divided by way of essence, it's into two: mundane and supramundane, or ordinary and transcendent.
내게 나디서 장주sem비기 장주sem 냠는 예비게 장주sem비기 시고라 장주sem 요군내라데 단니 곰냠는 군내 삼대 냠는 제들라 내게 지도 삼된들라 지틴비 삼된세다 지틴레 디비 삼된세 니용고레서 지틴 디 삼된 니용고레서 디로.
We're in the context of a bodhisattva, hence there's the requirement for the motivation of bodhicitta. And when their meditative concentration is divided by essence, then there are two: ordinary and transcendent, or mundane and supramundane.
간절히 지딘비 삼대랍나 파파마이뭐 소소기부 전주sembo 소소기부 기게 삼된디게 지딘비 삼대사 최고래. 다 지딘비 람식으로 가서 지딘비 삼대사. 나 파베기기 전주sembo 파베기기에다 삼된디게다 디카소래 안지딜레 데베 삼대사 파베 강사기. donala 가서선 donala 소소기 전주sembo 소소기부 기게 삼대사다. 전주sembo 파베기기 삼된 이유에서 나가지 말다. 지딘 발란다 소소기부지 지딘에 대발란다 파바르와 제자데 인디제.
The way we understand ordinary and transcendent meditative concentration is through the lens of our context here, which is that of within the continuum of a bodhisattva. So the single point of concentration, or rather the meditative concentration, in the continuum of a bodhisattva, if it is ordinary, it means the bodhisattva is an ordinary bodhisattva, in other words, not an Arya being. They haven't realized emptiness yet directly. And if the meditative concentration in the continuum of a bodhisattva is transcendent, then it means the bodhisattva has realized emptiness and is an Arya being. So therefore, the level of realization of bodhisattva may differ, but they both have a realization of concentration, of concentration.
당한저 람딜라 전주semba 소수기별 람스나 파베 람스데 니셰샤그로와 지난디 나신다 지딘비기 전주semba 지딘비기다 삼델라드 전주semba 소수기비기 삼델라 지딘베 삼델 지딘레 대발나 전주semba 파베 기기 삼델라 지딘데베 삼다시시그로와 지난당 디 파바다 소수기비 이게 예와첸 두송샤도 둠데디로와.
This then is a clear and straightforward way to understand ordinary and transcendent meditative concentration, but to be clear, it is in the context of a bodhisattva. So therefore, the concentration within an ordinary bodhisattva would be called mundane or ordinary, and that within the continuum of an Arya bodhisattva would be called supramundane or transcendent.
지금 마음으로 세베는 전주sembo 솔라베기에 삼대 전주절렘베기에 삼대 톨람베기에 삼대 곰람베기에 삼대 밀로람베 가서 기에 삼대신 두신 말 잘쇼고와 초솔람베기에 삼대인제 절람베기에 삼대인제 네 톨람베기에 삼대인제 곰람베기에 삼대인제 근데 밀로람베기에 삼대신 두신은 같이 여러와 되는.
And for those who feel two divisions are too few, we could say make 5 divisions then. For concentration in the continuum of a bodhisattva, there would be the concentration in the continuum of a bodhisattva on the path of accumulation. Secondly, there's the concentration in the continuum of a bodhisattva on the path of preparation. There will be the concentration in the continuum of a bodhisattva on the path of seeing, as well as that in the path of meditation, and fifthly, the path of no more training. So in this way, we can have a division into 5.
And that in those in a got jingoing, Yawa Chitan Chiche. Daya Yawa Chitan Chigla, Garion was in a choki Yawa Lada, choki Ewe, Shinedan, Latong, Shila Songes, something, some say. The choki Yawa said, choki pa, cho, and Yawa and the Shine, cho, Latong, cho, Nyam the Niga tomorrow, cho, and the Zivena, then something de la, and the Shine, cho, Chiche. That
way of dividing, as at the start of the text, was by way of essence. A second way to divide concentration would be into 3, and that's by way of direction. So that would be, so to reading from the text, to divide concentration by way of direction, namely directed towards either calm abiding, meditative insight, or the union of calm abiding and meditative insight. So here, meditative concentration is directed either towards calm abiding, or secondly, directed towards meditative insight, or thirdly, directed towards the union of the two, calm abiding and meditative insight.
I did not like Chogi Yawa Shine said, that didn't Shinela the you let Tishi to be things in Corona what that Shine. Just something de la Shine or Shine, you think in you let me the Tish to need to things in there, that's something chick the Shine do a Shine chalk said, Shine and the chick chair. That Houghton said, Houghton is something like that. Shedap Gishade, you the Jeva Shine ding ang ne, Jeva Jeje, you till Jeva Chin, Jeva Chivi, Shedap Chigorwa, something children, Della Houghton is Shedap Seal, Houghton is something such. Chese Shinigi, something, Houghton, something like that. Shine something like the thing is in Koran, Shine Koran, Goyache. Then Houghton is something like that. Shine ding ang ne, Jeva Jedu Tang, Miki, something, Shedap Dilla. Sherab Delada, Houghton Sherab, something. Did the Shine ding is in down, and Sherab Nidelache, the Karache. Then Niga Nyum do Jesu, Shila Sunday says, Koniga, Shine ding ane, Shine da Sherab Houghton Nigala, Niga Nyum do Minta do Shila Sunday Mintagas, like it is, those channel, and some Choi Chawas, Shine Cho, and it Houghton Sherab Cho, and the Niga. Yamdu Sundri Cho said, to sin and sum Yawadine sum chigri.
So look then at each of the 3 individually. So when concentration is directed towards calm abiding, what this means is the mental factor of stabilization or meditative stabilization, when it has been developed so that it can hold an object single-pointedly, then it is a mind of calm abiding. So here, the concentration, or meditative concentration, is directed towards holding an object single-pointedly, without distraction, unwavering for an unlimited period. So that's the first of this threefold division. The second, that of meditative insight, or translated either as special insight or penetrative insight, is not a mind of placement, but a mind of analysis, of investigation. It is the mental factor of wisdom, whereas the previous one was the mental factor of stabilization. And now the second, that of meditative insight, is the mind of the mental factor of wisdom. So both of these are amongst the 5 object ascertaining mental factors. And here, wisdom is concentration that is directed towards meditation. This is referring to, this wisdom is a concentration that is directed towards meditative insight. Then, when these two are brought together, stabilization and wisdom, so that single-pointedly one can both hold the object and investigate it, one has the third division here, the union of calm abiding and meditative insight. So the two now are conjoined. They are not separate. And then one is able to hold the object single-pointedly with the mental factor of stabilization, holding the object in an undistracted way. So that's the calm abiding, together with the meditative insight, the wisdom that is able to analyze.
Jele yugone chevaina da dela karsane jele yugone tonshu cedila and lucem dever be something sa chikche ane ngoshe so yenden gomanan dube something said and the simjen dwenji be something said the nigya yawa ming yawa sum yawa chechore sere chigores.
Then moving to the third of the three differing divisions. This is now to divide by way of function, or from the point of view of function. So when dividing meditative concentration or concentration by way of function, there are three to train in. The first is meditative concentration, abiding in physical and mental bliss in this very lifetime. So just to say as an aside, I'm using the term meditative concentration rather than the usual concentration, just to emphasize that it's not concentration like we generally use it in English, but it's something that has been developed to single-pointed concentration. So just to make it very abundantly clear, this is not our ordinary concentration, but concentration that is being developed. It essentially refers to the mental factor of stabilization that's been developed. Okay, so that was the first. Now the second, meditative concentration, accomplishing higher qualities such as the clairvoyances. And thirdly, meditative concentration, accomplishing the benefit of sentient beings.
Dupigeda de sheba mangboyungurwa jesu shine dubne garki orosna nga zugila kam goma gi sheba chukili kigore jesu le samdale gore kam gome gi sheba suda sumeda jesu konzu gi sheba le samde gas konzu shine dubje shine dubi topki jesu phaki yongarwa dineza samden so samden injimiji shine ingure besene jidane samden de shine ingoya yo mare Sherab ingoya mara samdala sherab yungure shine yungure an shine da sherab main ba denege ane chowa da dushe da semba se da yungure de ben samden dangbo kansa gyula chowa yore chowa dushe semba ile jabare ba kundu nga ji yunga nga chasan yoro ba di chasan samden de ji nga ju samden se gore ji da samden re kono samden re
Let's bring a few things together, because the terminology perhaps isn't always so clear. So the word concentration or meditative concentration, then this concentration or meditative concentration, this is a mind, these are minds of higher realms, of the form and formless realm. So whenever someone has a meditative concentration, it means they have a mind of the form and formless realm. It doesn't necessarily mean that it is a mind of calm abiding, although it may well be, as we heard in the previous division of 3. This is because it could be a meditative stabilization of meditative insight, or it could be a meditative concentration of the union of calm abiding and meditative insight. But what any of these concentrations or meditative concentrations are a mind of the form and formless realms, an absorption as it's often translated. So again, a mind of meditative concentration is necessarily a mind of the form or formless realm, but it's not necessarily a mind of calm abiding, but it may well be. Also, there are the mental factors that accompany meditative concentration, the 5 omnipresent mental factors, and possibly all 5 of the object ascertaining ones. these would too be counted as minds of meditative concentration, in that they are minds of the form and formless realm then. So therefore, we should understand that concentration doesn't necessarily refer to calm abiding or single-pointed concentration, but it can refer to concentration directed towards meditative insight, or concentration directed towards the union of calm abiding and meditative insight.
Jidang samden se dilang zo shine ngoya yo mare se worche she sarwada sherap yora tamare ngore da ngadu da jimba nyamna churi nyena sube nyena zunri nyena samden nyamlen se ne denigi jimba la so nyamlen tuge ne samden nyamlen se jor wa samden la joro di samden del bashi shine ngore shine nyamlen shine de sigore pashin tuge nane samden nyamlen samden se de shine lo gore shine ngore da dela 신내를 시고르다디 조 신내를 시고르디 그래서네 시럽기디 제일 시고르 와서 삼된 시럽 시고르 시럽이 차지 제일 시고 제가 디네자 파진 주기 냠능이 나네 가서 삼된 냠내 세야디 다 삼된 세야디 신내게 냠는 제다디 시고르.
So I hope that's clear, that meditative concentration doesn't, or absorption, does not have to be calm abiding. It can be wisdom, and it can be any of those other mental factors, such as within the five object ascertaining and five omnipresent mental factors. Any of these can be called concentration when when concentration's been well developed. But within the context of the six perfections, then meditative concentration is going to refer to calm abiding. Or to express that maybe a little clearer, when training in the six perfections, then a meditative concentration, or the perfection of concentration, will refer to calm abiding, or single-pointed concentration, because the next perfection, the sixth one, is that of wisdom. So therefore, the fifth, when one's training in the fifth perfection, that of meditative concentration, we can take it to mean that of calm abiding, training in calm abiding.
당아도 레 당보 당아 something 주부고리 세도 신의 주부고리라고 신의 마토발라 something said 레요 말에 제가 something 코론 님 자쇼 코론 유디 유를 제지도 내제 템부제 템부 네트워크 유하면 봐 템부 제지 네트워크인데라 something said 제가 되네 장고 something 주야라 제지 내봐도 주부고리 제가 디 something 제지 내봐 주여도 신의 토병도 아니 신의 대다 념두기 셰바 망불리게 제가 something 차로 주야디 당보 띵이진 코론 주고 와다 띵이진 념도 주요도 되는 콘수 차산 디 념도 감공매기 셰바로 차로 그래.
In the previous segment, I referred to, in the context of the six perfections, training in the perfection of concentration would refer to training in calm abiding. Then for us as beginners, those who are not training in the actual perfections, because as we saw at the outset of this section, it says, when motivated by bodhicitta, so we are not yet bodhisattvas. So for practitioners of our level, when one is training in meditative concentration, it too refers to training in meditative stabilization or calm abiding. So within the five object ascertaining mental factors, there is the one of stabilization. So when this mental factor is developed to where an object can be held single-pointedly, this is then referred to as single-pointed concentration, but the mental factor is one of stabilization. And when it is able to hold an object undistractedly, then it is calm abiding. But the mental factor remains that of stabilization. And when one has developed calm abiding, it becomes meditative concentration, a mind of the form and formless realm, which is then also called in English an absorption. And not only then is that mental factor of stabilization, that object ascertaining mental factor of stabilization, now which has been developed into calm abiding, called a meditative concentration, but also so too are all the other mental factors accompanying it, those of the other object ascertaining or omnipresent mental factors. These too are called concentrations. And they are also called concentrations because they are minds of the form or formless realm.
Something to something Yamlin Chewa said, Gomgure said, Shine Ranlia, Gogorvada, the names that Anzugi. That's something Yamlin Chevala, that something said in Shinegi, Persian Dugi, Nane, that something Yamlin said, Janjusamban, Yamli Persian, that something the top tower, just as the nigger something is in Tobiala, Dambo Horn, Drugo, right, good and Yen Latine, Young Weza, none of the Gomne, thing is in Kenamado, Magomba, and thing is in the Kitu Meva, there is some of the thing is in the Drugo or Dambonda. 당아저기 파준 주기 냠랭 나네 삼대 냠랭 레도 장주 심비 유인 냠랭 제시 혼도다 진신의 줍차어 와다 고 진비 냠랭 수ring의随便냠 다 삼대 주기 냠랭 지고데 고도 줍차 차어 와 당보 지자 장주 심비 유인 삼대 냠랭 띵이 진이 개와라야 당보 주고고 와다 당보 마주바다 개메 와다 지자 디네사 당보 신이 주고고 와다 당아저기 신이 마토 와도 당보 신이 주고고 와다 지자 데다 신이 주고 와서 다지 삼대 냠랭 거세 신이 주탕 거시고 와다 가제.
Those who are bodhisattvas, they will have already achieved calm abiding. So those of us who aspire to become bodhisattvas, we too need to develop calm abiding, develop the mental factor of stabilization to the point where one is able to hold an object single-pointedly and thereby develop calm abiding. And so bodhisattvas will already have achieved calm abiding in order to become a bodhisattva. And the way to develop concentration is through meditation, because it's through meditation that the mental factor of stabilization can be cultivated or strengthened to hold an object single-pointedly.
Lam Yamlin Garacheve, Lam Yamlin Chevala, Niela, Lam the Gule, Maginian, Shine Drubu, Shine Drupchi, Shine Tobu, Shine Tobnidin, Lam the Lam Yamlin, Lam Guleke, or Lam Nanzugan, Yandu, Lam Narangia, Lam, and the Janju sing Lam Gare, Gulekevala, Niela, Shine Drupchi, Shine the Tobu.
Reason that a bodhisattva will have achieved calm abiding before actually becoming a bodhisattva is because whether a practitioner is of the hero lineage, the solitary realizer lineage, or the bodhisattva lineage, they have to have developed calm abiding in order to generate an initial path within themselves. To generate the first mental path of any of those three types, calm abiding has to have previously been achieved. So therefore, every new bodhisattva will have already achieved calm abiding.
Lam Yentu Lam Rangia Lam Janju Sembe Lam said Guleke Wala Nela Shine Drubade Shine Maduna and Lam Guleke Mere Shine Delia Shine Druba some year to go Marda did Shine Dia and Chike Anzugi and Dembashila me big Shine Druba Druko Dembashi. Tempo Kunjo Tepo, the Lande said Yorwa or the Nigi. And she tell me be seen to go, Lam Yamlin Chicken, she knew she knew comedy, that on board she knew Tambo, she knew to get me, but Amarin Guru, Jelia, Lam Yungo, Kuriagi, she need to get to the new Bachara Taje, Dembashi, let me be she near some Dambo Chagurua. And then she need Dambo to me, but Hamara Yorova. The Lam Yamlin Chegi, Yamlin Magin Shine Tuku, then the Lamji, Shine Troops and the Lamji, Lam Gulaki, and Shine de Gomia, Shine de the Dembashila me be Shine, and the Gombiat in Ungor, Gomgora.
So therefore, so just to repeat what I said in the previous segment, there is no path that is free of karma abiding. There's no path that is separated from karma abiding. Every mental path that's achieved is achieved on the basis of a prior attainment of karma abiding. Karma abiding can be attained on any number of objects, and once one has achieved karma abiding on a particular object, one will apply the single pointed concentration that is karma abiding to an ever-expanding number of objects of meditation. So for example, a practitioner may well achieve a mental path independent on utilizing karma abiding on the object of the Four Noble Truths. Or if not, for sure, once they have achieved a mental path, they will apply karma abiding to the object of meditation, being the Four Noble Truths.
That day, Lam Rim Text, Geshe Thubten Rabten, Geshe Thubten Rabten, Geshe said, Chinang Tumo Yamne Chagora did the Zada, Shandai Geshe Thubten, Sonam, Kashin Geshe took the Sun, and Sosola Cetelia, Digizam, Yagitunda, Tigi to Yungures, Yan, Sosorangi Yaji, Dubik, Tarbatoya, Dondalia, and Geshe Yungure, and Yaji Yeni Gyawachimaya, Lulia, Yagi, some that down body, and Susumel Yagi, Dondala Geshe Yunguru.
Karma abiding can be achieved then on a wide variety of different objects. There are different ways of achieving it, those which are common, those which are uncommon. And they can be done, and karma abiding can be striven for and achieved under the influence of a wide variety of motivations. Some will strive to and achieve karma abiding with the motivation of achieving this life's happiness. Others will strive to achieve karma abiding in order to create powerful causes for a good rebirth as a human or God in the next life, as a God in the next life. And others will strive to achieve karma abiding in order to achieve liberation from society, from samsara.
Lam Geshe Thubten Delia. Shine some toba zamlaya de dandas shara jugi some tango makasin shine toba zamji and then jugi nyomo mapa shine toba zamji nyomo bango mare nyomo mapa na and it jige Gyatso yoro konro kia nyomo jene kanga yore ne mazu lulia and chiki nasata yungure na yungure jiza gewa chimaine shine zam topje delia yagi tangmatu bane gewa chimaine and angajuge kowale geare mata tabala toyamara kam gomale sudan sumele ge yo mare jiza shara ko ge chembora che chagyo mare.
As has been said now a couple of times, whilst for a mental path to be achieved, it can only be achieved in dependence on karma abiding. So whilst that is the case, it is not the case that achieving karma abiding means that a mental path will be achieved, because it depends on the prior motivation, as well as then how karma abiding is then applied. In other words, what the object of meditation is. And it's important to be clear that karma abiding itself, the achievement of karma abiding itself, does not necessarily lead to the achievement of a path, and certainly doesn't lead to the elimination of the afflictions. Not at all. And a person who has achieved karma abiding will still suffer from afflictions. They will still suffer from physical illness. So they will still experience suffering even in the very life that they have karma abiding. And then their next life will still be a life bound within cyclic existence.
Lam Rim Text chulma sonama jam ne yong bai ne ane ko jam sha ba ne chu o chenpo re ne shu shira yo ma res ta chu ji chasa ba kha ji le du je ne ma dep chil ta sha ba ne ko di shu ti gi ma ji na chi ka ma de ro ya gi kya ba shu go re shu che cha go res 지산 등 하나 저 샘디 신이 마토 와인자 샘디 남면기 파 잠치네 샘디 아니 슉제라 레마토고 지산 녀모 빠라 슉침불레 두고 말 지산 녀모 빠야라 깔래하고 지고래 되는 장은 저 샘디 유카를 냐 따베나 될 제주 네테베 샘지 띵이진의 토바이나 내가 저기 냠nen지도 깔래 야 샘디 뉴버체 용거를 레카르지나 된다 줍체 용거를 이제 신이 녀모 빵발라 샘디 뉴버침불 고와인자 대인장은 저 신이 주고 그래서다
For ourselves, as aspirants for enlightenment or for liberation, we require calm abiding. And the reason that calm abiding is required is that calm abiding is the essential basis for the achievement of a path. And the purpose of a mental path is to eliminate the afflictions. And one needs a powerful mind of calm abiding so that one's meditation has sufficient strength to eradicate our deep-seated, long-habituated afflictions. So here, often the analogy of flowing water is used to show as to the purpose of having a powerful mind such as calm abiding. So if we take our current mind and liken it to a wide, expansive river, we know from observing such a river, or maybe being on one in a small boat, it meanders very slowly with very little strength. But when that same river comes together, perhaps in a gorge or a gully, that the water is flowing now with much more concentration, and therefore this wide and expansive, slow-flowing river suddenly becomes a fast-flowing torrent. So it's clear which one has far more strength and direction. And similarly then, with our cultivation of our mind, a mind that can be likened to a fast-flowing torrent will have far more power in eradicating our long-habituated afflictions. Therefore, we need a mind of immense power, a mind of calm abiding.
나 신이 줍탕 데라 저기 림바르선 줍탕 니 순고래 녜바가 본위기 내내 디년부 뒤시 제된제 신이 줍탕 직제 아니 셈네베 탑구 세제 되네게 셈네베 탑구라더니 신이 줍탕 직제 신이 줍탕 림바 니 순고래 셈네베 탑구 녜바가 본 녜바가 본 뒤시 제된비게 세데 년보 제된제 녜바 빠야기 녜바가제 되네 데려야 년보대 년보 제된제 아니 신이 줍탕지 순고래 녜바가 나보 녜바 네말 녜바 줄 녜바 디도세 뒤견디 소라 견가요래 견가 빵빠야기 년보 제된제 아니 신이 줍탕지 요래서 지자디 년보 제된제 신이 줍탕지 요래지
There are two methods for accomplishing calm abiding. The one is that of 5 faults and 8 antidotes, and the second method is that of the 9 mental abidings.
그래서 지준 잠보 권비기 위타세디 베지지요 차베지 위타세 차베지요 위타세 차베 민 위타래 그래 디나라 가르송어스네 녜바 균가 빵지 녜보 제된지 신의 주탄 송고래 제된지 신의 주탄 송고래 위타세요래 위의 기세 위타 우타스네 우타라는 그 우동 고다 타니도 우타라는 저 고다 타 우타.
There's a text by Maitreya. I don't know it in English, but it's either going to be the middle view, or it's going to be the I don't know, the crown, the head view, or the higher view. Can be any of these. I haven't seen it written. In Tibetan, Utta. So in here, Maitreya presents the method for achieving calm abiding based on the 5 faults, the elimination of the 5 faults through the application of the 8 antidotes.
semnibe tab구 세디 델레티네 신이 주탄 순고라 파바 도메기 군뒤 나래네 아니 semnibe tab구라티네 신이 주탄서 온도 순고래 지다 신이 주탄데라서 낭베기 다 신이 주탄데레 림발 막서나 지단 주탄 카니 가르치나 좀나 지고르징이데.
The second technique, that of the 9 mental abidings, is also presented by Jampa with Maitreya, together with Arya Sangha, in the text, The Ornaments of Clear Realizations. So in this text, the method of the 9 mental abidings is presented. Whichever of these 2 one follows leads to the same achievement, that of calm abiding.
이내다 돈다 직바래딩이 손데 냠는 제산 뛰어서 가면 돈다 직바 차들.
Between these 2 methods, the way of training differs, but the meaning is identical.
나한줄이야 신이 두두가라 다등한저 예방가디 가려요. 교행가 가려요래. 람나 한저 띵이지 공부하려야 아니 고미야기 제리 좋아지고 주위급려야 띵이지 고미야려야 도바미베 레로 실리그리에서 그래서 당한도 전주기 녀세 레로세 디레다 지산 띵이 좀 곰비기 조위값소 조와지비값을 아데 고미야게 제야게 도미비기 레로리그리에서 디가게레서 지산 레로레나 띵이 좀 곰발라 곰비 제 레로레다 디 띵이 좀 신의 주야게 바치레서 디 레로메바서 오래지레.
The first method that Maitreya presented, that of the elimination of the 5 faults through the 8 antidotes. Here, the first fault, which is an obstacle to the cultivation of calm abiding, is the fault of laziness. The meaning of laziness here is the same as we know from our own lives. It's a way of thinking, in other words, an affliction that serves to prevent us from engaging in virtue. And the particular virtue here will be the cultivation of calm abiding.
데니티노 체고를 강아 데니지 진화를 디삼노 콤베지 디삼노 데니 체고스 라미기 바팅이지 신요 콤나 말랍제 겹샤 줘와 데마 담가라네 말랍제 겹샤 줘라 디디 체고를 지사 다 신요 콤미야게 고수제 콤미오도 콤미야 고수요도 디 가르쳐는 데바 제선데니 디녀바레세 꾼레세 그렇지 띵이지 콤바라 주베세 담가 제바서 담가디 라미가 데니데 제와세디 담가디 잠바 제선바나 데니 디바시레세 디 제선 띵에서 곰통마르와.
The first of the 5 faults was laziness. The second to be abandoned is that of forgetting. Forgetting what? In particular, the spiritual instructions of one's teacher, the guidance that one has received in how to cultivate calm abiding. So this is the second of the 5 faults, that of forgetting the instructions.
바시치 가래라네 띵이지 곰비 내갑소 곰개비 내갑소 진화동 괴바 용구로 진괴해야 돼. 진화동 괴바니디 내 바시치게 띵이지 주야라. 바시치게.
Then the third are the mental factors of laxity and excitement. These two serve as obstacles to the cultivation of calm abiding, laxity and excitement.
나 되니기 띵이지 곰비급을 진화동 괴바추나 람산 텔레 님부 띵고 고르와. 님부 맞던 바 샤샤바이나 디바시레제.
To these faults, these faults which serve to prevent the attainment of calm abiding, these need to be eliminated, and they are done so through the application of antidotes.
Sem Zechidu Yule Nedibi Kabla Jingwa Dong Guebada, Jingui Nida Mebache, Sem Yule Zechidu Nedibi Negabla. That Gueba Jungudi Guebi Nibo Samda, Jingui Nibo Samda, Barshi Reje. Carson Dine Samda, when things in never for you to order, Nigorma, Jesa, Digabla, Dine Samdana, Jingwa no Guebi Nibo Samda, and the Barshi Resorda. Nabadi Rotama, Nabadi.
Then it's from my counting, it seems laxity and excitement, there must have been the third and the fourth. The fifth one, I don't know the name, but the meaning is that it's applying the antidote when one should not be. So here, this is when one is holding the object undistractedly, single-pointedly, but one is applying an antidote for laxity or applying an antidote for excitement when there's no need to. Laxity hasn't arisen, excitement hasn't arisen. Actually, one is holding the object single-pointedly, but one mistakenly applies the antidote. This then is the fifth fault.
Jingo Yudi Gala Nimbo Tingo Gore, Jingo Yondu, Nimbo Tingo Gore, Chesadi Nimbo Matin by Nakuris, Cousin Nimbo Matin Shajabane, Jinwa de Kobo Shu Sheshurua, Chesadi Nimbo Tingo, Gueres, Matin by Shaya, the Gueres, the Nimbo Guen Shibadreda. Naba de Garasene, Sem Jingu Guni Meva, Jingu and Traja, Sem Sage to Ne de Becabla, the Jingu Nimbo de Patin by Nimbo de Samtavana, the Gueres, Garasene. This sometimes the teacher never the need to go Maroko, Chinguna Trash, what teacher need you, she needed a teacher need to go. It's a need to but a Taran Jao, but the Delia and Jinwa down Guebi, Nebo Samtana, Delia, teach never the Barchi watch. As a Jingu and Trache, some teach to Nebi Kabla, Nimbo Jingu Nebo Sam the Tamba in the Guineas or the.
With the third and fourth fault, those of laxity and excitement, the fault there is when one does not apply the antidote, because here it's needed. The mind is either lax or it is excited, and excited here is what we'd normally call distracted, so you're just excited away from the object. So here, with the third and the fourth, the fault comes in that one does not apply the antidote when it's needed. The fifth, though, here the antidote isn't required because one is holding the object well. There is no laxity, there is no excitement, but one erroneously applies the antidote. That is the fault then with the fifth of the five faults.
And then Dineza Delia Gyun was in Gaduada, Gyungare, Gyungane Dambo Lelodi, my Gyun Dambo de Lelodi. She's a Lelo de Nimbushi or the Hola. Nimbushi Hores, Nimbushi Timores, Lelod Mevasola, Nimbushi Tinchi Mevaso Horegere.
Those then are the five faults. And all of these five have antidotes to apply it, because this technique is eliminating the five faults through the application of 8 antidotes. So the first of the faults, you recall, is that of laziness. And laziness has 4 of the 8 antidotes.
Dile de lelo di meva sugin sarwa ma di male padu ane lelo di ko desu le di gin sara di ko denisa Xinjiang nganzu Lusim Xinjiang Xindu Jiangwa de ma ye padu ko lelo de ga tu meva de jisa Lusim Xindu Jiangwa de Xinjiang se de ko lelo ga ya de Xinjiang se de ko ko jisa Xinjiang se de lelo yin bo cha go de 당보 쓴다다 님보 당보디 레로 님보 레슬랍다 당보 니보 말아시 당보 님보 레랍네 되거든.
So before going into the 4 antidotes, the actual antidote to laziness is that of pliancy. So pliancy is it will actually eliminate laziness. But at this point, pliancy isn't developed. That's only developed once calm abiding is achieved. So we need other antidotes against laziness now whilst one's training to achieve calm abiding.
그래서 레로게 님보들 시용거를 시디가선 대바래 당보 대바래 니바 존주들이 아카사 니바 듬바들이 듬바 당보 대바체 되는 듬바체 되는 존주체 되는 신도 장바세 신자세 시디 차고 디츠도 레로게 님보래.
Then the actual 4 antidotes to laziness are firstly faith, secondly aspiration, thirdly joyous perseverance, perhaps here it will be effort, and then fourthly that of pliancy. So faith, aspiration, let's say effort, and pliancy.
레로게 님보 시샤에 디나데다 신장세 레로 레로 원에 메와 수간데 신장도 차고래.
But of these 4, the actual antidote really is that of pliancy, the actual antidote to laziness. But this only is achieved with the achievement of calm abiding.
지산다 신장세도 영야라 가르고선 존주식치 못지는 공고래. 존주식치 맞으는 마공바는 신장들이 두고 말이야. 지산 신장 계획 규리 존주지는 공맥 존주들이에서 오래 존주들이에서.
In these 4 antidotes, preceding that of pliancy in the list is that of joyous perseverance or effort, because through tremendous effort, eventually pliancy is attained.
존주의 영향을 nimba고로 와다 빼는 개화도 제발 존주의 이제 냠는 제발라 지금 개도가 존주의 저 마공반의 신장기 되어 메로 신의 주리갈 존주의 전 가신 조신 안에 공고로 디 공반의 신장기 두고 디 마공반의 가신 조신 지 마공반의 매반의 된 존주 매반의 공신이 공투고 말아 제산다 가신 조신 요발에 디디야 디 공기에서 공바 돈이기 nimba고 그래 제 돈이 nimba고 그래 돈이 디 제고도 선배 돈이 매나 and dumba de mena jawadi someyala zundili mares jesa dangbo dene yenza zundi de yagoyela and donyer gi dumba ko goreje shine da gar donyer dumba sin shine tobudu sembe donyer dumba re shine se de matum de digimde shine tobudu sembe shine gi donyer dumba de ki shine donyer tobudu sembe shine dumba ki de shine de gomi tobe don달로 gombe gi zundi shine gom dene zundi shine gom yodi 네, 난 리스임 신도 장와서 되게요데 되네 레로데 가용을 해서와.
To achieve pliancy requires great effort. Hence, pliancy is preceded by effort in this list. But to make great effort, one requires aspiration, or perhaps aspiration here is perhaps not the best translation. That's a usual translation in terms of mental factors. A better translation would be determination. So through having strong determination, or another synonym here would be zeal. So when you apply yourself with zeal, so having the strong determination, then applying effort gives rise to pliancy. So these are presented in a specific reason. Order. To give rise to pliancy requires the preceding effort. To give rise to effort requires a strong determination.
듬벌레라 대바고래라. 다 당보 대바래다. 대바기어데 신내라 대바기 신내라 대바기에서 신내 빼야고래샤 선배게 약빼야고래도 선배 삼는 고래 대바고래지. 신내라 대비기 띵인진라 대비 대바기어고래서. 그래서 띵인진라 대비 대바면나 야고래 매나 nganzu chalade yakure sampan odi godu sembe ngal godu sembe dönye girwa dene dönye ledu di raig dondale besun zundu chigirwa bezu chigirwa dene raig go gapyorwa je dangpon yakur du masan yakur mindu sampan yakur duye masam yakur mindu sampan de tele bezu khon dimba khon le yamar je dangpo dingi zile mipigi debake ores debake na dingi zile mipigi dingi zile topdege dönye gi dimba legires dimba lena 디 토비하게 자원을 준비 준비리기래서 준비래나 안 타말에 아니 신자 제고 신자서 리기래서 대바 준비 띵이지 신이 신내 레디비데 신내기 연대 신내들 다시 신내 연대 배하고 신내들 야고래도 와서 베게 신내야 대바 오래지 대바 신내를 유지 대바디 유지 신내를 맞다 당해서 건조 숨세야 말해.
And determination, it arises in dependence on the preceding antidote to laziness, that of faith. So faith then, in this context, or faith, trust, conviction. It's a faith in this can be maybe better here as conviction. It refers to faith in the qualities of calm abiding, or maybe conviction in the qualities of calm abiding. So this is the first of the 4 antidotes to laziness. And we understand how they work in that faith in the qualities of calm abiding gives rise to the wish to wanting to achieve calm abiding. Because one has faith, or maybe conviction is better, conviction in the qualities of calm abiding. Having conviction in the qualities of calm abiding, one will give rise to the second antidote, that of determination to achieve calm abiding. And in dependence on determination, one will make effort to achieve calm abiding. So these are all antidotes against laziness, and they will eventually lead to the attainment of the best of antidotes, pliancy.
나 dondalang anjoge diredoada bene tingin sinla mikbi debache tingin sinla mikbi debadi debache dene debache de tingin sin di tobudu saber ra고 tobudu saber dönyi dümbache da dönyi dümbale yodu de tobiage 돈 검제 전전지 좀야che 다 전에 준비 제보 타마 가서는 신의 용으로 와 신의 토의 신장세 리스임 신도 제외 대화 도구를 신의 도구를 리스임 신도 제외 대화 토야 돼 신장 토야 돼 대바세디 미그비 유디 가발미고서 띵에zel 미고래제 비띵에zel 미네 대바게게 맞아 넘빈 건조라 대바게스 건조스 미루와 신이 어디 자데 다데 대바세디 그 대바게게 유디 가르스는 신에들이 띵에제 신에들을 대바게야 돼 유디 신에제 될래 대바게 디 대바게야데 다 신에들 토구도 선배 돈이 듬바게 신의 돈이 듬바게 어디 근데 신이기 토비할래 곰비 준비 공고로 준비 공. 디 곰비 제부 갈래서 신자세 리고래지래.
First then, hearing about the qualities of calm abiding, the great benefits of calm abiding, one gives rise to a conviction in these qualities of calm abiding, and this conviction in the qualities of calm abiding means one has some a wish to attain it. One develops this further then from the first antidote to laziness, that of faith or conviction, into the second, that of determination, where one has a determination to achieve calm abiding and overcome laziness in order to do so. One strengthens this further then with effort, the third of the 4 antidotes to laziness, applying ever more effort to overcome laziness and achieve calm abiding. And when a calm abiding is eventually achieved, one achieves the supreme antidote to laziness, or the best of antidotes, that of pliancy.
다들 띵이zel라 대비 대바스 띵이지 신내시고 신내데 대바라도 신내들이야 배 약고래샤 선배섬로들이 다 대바스데 당한 쪽에 대바께야 가르고서는 띵이지 연대 삼당고 그래서도 연대 가서 띵이지 신내세 토바이나 안 소소에 세텔이네 안치기 류셈 신도 자외 대화 대기 용도 선배게 세텔이나 대기도 선배 삼다야 근데 신내 토바이나 신내디기 대셈 제주 유갈 미바이나 제주도 내바이자 안셈디 가발이야 샤바이네 샤도 투투게 뉴바딘도 선배 삼다야 근데 신내디가 미바 제주도 미는 고명도 완전 셈마야 고미도 개와주바네 개와배 맞아 개와 톱치 뭐 사투고도 선배게 삼다야 아니 신내디 주변도 신내 될라 때네 땅안 주기 주셔돼야 주주주야 원시 주야 데네 주투고도 선배 삼다야 연된도 다 신내 될라 때네 가서 동반이라 삼다바네 제바지 동반인 게 뮤르도 또토야 지산데 동반이 되네 또 발을 때네 아니 신이 쭉 동반이 또 먼저 코르기 코와를 줘지 탈바다 탐지 캠프 고와 톱투 얘기도 지산 신이에서 연된 빼면서 되네 두 선배게 되네기 신이기 연된디게 삼당여도 아니 되네 연된 망고 삼당 되네 신들 빼 오래도 선배기 대바 때 묻기고 그러지 다 야고 슈레샤 선배 삼당여도 내 숙지 대삼도 숙이야 올렸나 어딘가 되니 딩가 토고도 맞는데 지금 누워 선배게 다 되니기 듬발래요 그래서 되니기 듬발데다 토고도 선배 되니 듬발래요도 되네 곰래 쩐지 곰곰게를 쩐지 쩐지체용 그래서 되네 쩐지체요도 담말이야 아니 신의 토비도 신장의 대화 토비도 신의 토고 그래서 우리 신장의 대화 토도 그래서 제자데 디엔자데 레로이 님보들 영타로 되니 시송샤로와
Hopefully then it's clear the relationship between these four antidotes to laziness, an obstacle to the attainment of calm abiding. The fourth antidote, this best of them, that of pliancy, comes with the attainment of calm abiding. And in order to achieve calm abiding, and one has to completely overcome all forms of laziness, and therefore requires the preceding antidote of effort. And effort comes about in dependence on a determination to achieve calm abiding, which itself comes about in dependence on the conviction in the qualities of calm abiding. So therefore, the starting point is to know the qualities of calm abiding, reflect well on them, and thereby give rise to a conviction in them, wanting to achieve them. The qualities then of calm abiding can be considered from this perspective of this life, as well as benefits coming in future lives. The benefits then that will be achieved in this life is that when one achieves calm abiding, it is marked by the attainment of physical and mental bliss. Whenever then one sits in calm abiding, holding an object single-pointedly, one experiences incomparable physical and mental bliss. Moreover, because calm abiding is marked by the quality of being able to hold the object of meditation single-pointedly, without distraction, for any duration of time, it means that the spiritual practitioner can integrate virtuous qualities of the Dharma, whichever minds of the Dharma they are cultivating, integrate them very deeply within themselves and bring about rapid transformation. In a conjunction with this, huge stores of merit are accumulated because of the incredible power of this mind. So therefore, in addition to the attainment of physical and mental bliss in this life, huge stores of merit are accumulated which will benefit future lives. Qualities of the other minds of the Dharma one is cultivating will be quickly achieved because of the strength of the mind, which will have great benefits in future lives. And in particular, when one thinks about being able to use a mind such as this, placed on the object of emptiness, then one's attainment of the realization of emptiness will be incredibly powerful, and therefore the attainment of liberation and enlightenment too will come ever nearer. So reflecting like this, one comes to see the incredible benefits that come from concentration, both in terms of this life as well as our rapid spiritual development from life to life. This then is the starting point to reflecting on these qualities of calm abiding is the starting point to give rise to the first antidote, that of conviction or faith.
담가 가서래 신인 주비 내가블 공바 무슨 공비 갑라 담가 제바 세저로 녀바 괜지로 담가 제바 디님보 와서 담가 젬바데래 담가데 디디제고 와서 젬바디 잔시 젬베로디 네디지 담가 제바디 님보 젬바도 연나 제바도 연구 말와 저선 담가 젬바 세지래 젬마자.
So those four, so in the presentation of the application of the 8 antidotes to the 5 faults in order to attain calm abiding, Those 4 antidotes were to overcome the first fault of laziness. The second fault was forgetfulness, in particular, forgetfulness of one's spiritual instructions from one's Lama in terms of how to achieve calm abiding. The antidote then, there's one antidote to apply to that, and that is recollection, or perhaps it's translated as mindfulness, it's the same word. So recollection or mindfulness of the instructions. That is the antidote to the fault of forgetfulness of the instructions.
Then the question nyemba jingwe jingwa dong goba chiwa jingwe ge nye gyuen wa di gyuen di nyemba de kasen xixin di jingwe yonggu ma hao guai de xixin da ha mo na jingwe de le li ro wa chesan xixin re.
Then to the faults of introspection, then to the faults of laxity and excitement. These have the antidote of introspection or vigilance, where one applies vigilance or introspection so as to overcome the faults of laxity and excitement.
Then the
reason that introspection is the antidote to laxity and excitement is introspection plays the role of being aware whether the mind is under the influence of laxity or whether it's under the influence of excitement, or it's not, in other words, translated as distraction, but where the mind is mentally excited and thereby is not able to abide on the object. So introspection has the function of being aware of whether the mind is under the influence of laxity or excitement.
Digi docho de da jingu yon de couple xixing yu ba hao go yon de yong hao go de jingu le sa le du hao go de ne ka sa nyen ba tian de nyen ba tian de nyen ba du jie ba so nyen bo ngom ba du jie ba sa ci ro de nyen bo ngom ba du jie ba sa nyen bo jingu ge da jingu yong gu de sen be ge pa ga ya de jan ba tian jie nyen ba sa ba de nyen ba sa da de diga so de nyen bo shi ba de cha go shi ka sa nyen nga ba de cha go so nyen bo dun bo di de ji da nyen bo ye yo ro wa ye na ne shi ba de xin jiang ba xie sa ro wa jan ba de nga ba cha ro xi xin se de zhu bo cha sa da dun ba gan le le dun ba de ga re se ne jing gu jun du ga le nyen bo dian de le nyen bo ding bo du jie ba nyen bo dian de da de ji nyen bo ma dian ba xia xia ba de nye ba ro gyun ro wa jingugi nyembo se de nyembo de xixin di re la nga de ja ro nyembo ma den ba sha da di gi nyembo de nyembo den de re se nyembo ngombo du je ba se de nyembo den de re se.
Then the 7th of the 8 antidote is overcoming laxity. So applying antidote, because now this has come about independence on introspection. One has noticed now that there is laxity, so one overcomes laxity, returning the mind to the object.
Ni ku du ga le ni ku ye ge ni bo ge ni se de wa ni se ne ni de me ba cha ro go di na xin jing wa dong go ba le yong du ga le jing wa dong go ba de le ni bo tian ba ne jing gu ni de me ba cha ro go ji zhen jing gu ge yong du ga le ni bo ma tian ba xia xia ba ni bo ma de me ni ku je ni me se ba xia xia ba da ga la ni ku du go wa je ni se xia ba ne ni de me ba cha ro go di na xin jing gu yong be ga na ni bo ma tian ba xia sam ma da ba xia xia ba ne jing wa de go ba da ga la ni du go ji zhen ding ze ya ge le tu go ma 저는 될이야 년부 때문에 근데 년부 때에 가서 잠바 베지 다야 돼. 진짜 년부 때에도 가르친 것은 다디 진구 주사디 고 진화도 거바디 파주고 섬제 잠바디 진제 샘디야 제주도 유딜 제주도 내버 제야 돼. 다 년부 때에서 해야 돼. 그것은 진화 중에도 ma sewa charoya dang goba chu de sim patro chaguro jisan jamba ten jine jamba ten de me sewa chana sebo soya da sim pa chilo thugi na thoma chuba ka ba de nyembo ten pa se worde.
Here then one is utilizing the previous antidote of introspection as well as the one before of mindfulness. And one is now, introspection has noticed either the mind has fallen under the influence of laxity or under the influence of excitement, and it's introspection that has recognized this. And then the mental factor of mindfulness is recalling the instructions to apply. And then one applies the relevant antidote. So for example, if one is meditating and falls asleep, or is falling asleep, but introspection doesn't notice one's falling asleep, what happens? You actually fall asleep. But if introspection notices that one's nodding off, then mindfulness will remind oneself of an antidote to apply, and then now that this particular antidote applies the counteractive method so as to ward off, in this illustration, that of sleep.
지금 무바로에 무바의 상체 셈데 세부서야 되네 미바의 셈파치로 쳐두고네 쳐마주에 셈데 어디 내고라 셈베 내줘야 돼 잠바디게 대행진도 지야 돼 대령년부 땜바세고래 셈파치로 연로도 셈믹데다도 두스도면 셈잉루와 셈데 유직래 제자다 셈데 파주도 삼제 남상 어디 다가라 내고 그래 셈베 삼다셔로와 디셈 년부 땜바세고래 셈 치로를 가지고 비는 꾸지래 미세지도 삼다도 가라 삼나네 ngay kangpa sa denpa ina senpa chochukorowa, yuchukorowa, gueba chungorowa. Chizan dine ha goya de sem digi, denpa ki, oda di sem de dakara shaamada ngay sem de chokudu chani digi mara sem dakara shaakoroya sembe samdana di kwa tsechi ni gorowa. Nima dunpa ki kora kishi wara.
Here then, with the seventh antidote, when one is noticing that instead of holding the object single-pointedly, one is going off to laxity or going off to excitement, one applies the antidote and brings the mind back single-pointedly onto the object. Just as the translator, I haven't studied this for many, many years, but I'm seeming to recall the seventh antidote is that of application, and the eighth antidote is non-application, right? Thank you. So Tepel confirms the memories were for one's right. So the eighth antidote is where one doesn't apply an antidote because one is holding the object in an undistracted manner. Therefore, the fault here that would be to apply an antidote. Rather, the antidote is not applying an antidote, hence non-application. And the reason for not applying the antidote is because the object is being held in an undistracted manner. It's being held single-pointedly.
All right, that someday the share that because Kajilang to Shine said to be a la and I to Karaku Tutan Los Maswana, that Tutan loot of the car Tutan Nietzsche, needed that I'm to get Geshe the letter, Tingaji to be a la Karakos, Deba, Dumbata, Zundu, Dingins let me pick it Deba Chaya, and that Donya Dumbakia, then they came to Zundu in the Shinja Sada. Then on the temper that she's in dinner that she knew to be a couple of that Beji show that temper that she's in the that temper that she's in the Q and Karakar Jung Lamsa, Shimju said, Dasha Jagan, Dakandi, she's in it. She's in Dion the Lamsa, and the Teleba Gaya that she said, Chasan temper the Bishna, she's not ten she's in it. That's all which Chakor in the Tugalia, Colegal Masama, or Dingy the Roda. And the on the Dirin decorated that Nyambota. Nyabanga said that Nyamboki said he got mother the shoes and Jamatin Mamuti. Dina Pechinanda, Yawad Mother Sherat Mindu Nina, Dineric, the Simju Chejana, Anjik. Just Nima Hagone and Transutia, Amo Sawa Rosinaji, this Savashin Kavayungua.
As I mentioned a little while ago, there are two techniques for cultivating calm abiding. Now we've looked at one of the two, that of the application of 8 antidotes to overcome the 5 faults to achieve calm abiding. So of these antidotes, the primary ones are the 4 to overcome laziness, and you'll recall that the fourth one is that of pliancy, which is actually achieved. Physical mental pliancy, or the bliss of physical mental pliancy, is achieved when calm abiding is actually achieved. To get that far, one needs to apply the preceding antidote, that of effort, great effort, and that comes about in dependence on the preceding antidote of determination, which itself comes about in dependence on the first antidote, that of conviction in the qualities of calm abiding. So those are the first 4 of the 8 antidotes. Then of the remaining 4, it's primarily mindfulness and introspection. Mindfulness to overcome forgetfulness, introspection so as to overcome laxity and excitement. And really we could say these 2 are the most important ones, and that we should be utilizing in all our meditations and daily life. The last 2 antidotes were either applying or not, the non-application of the antidotes. What we've covered here in this section isn't in the text. The text only presents the 3 different ways to 3 different divisions of concentration, and so we've looking at a little bit more in a little more detail, which for some of you may be new. For others, may be a reminder of what you've studied in the past. So we'll conclude here for tonight and continue then next week. And if you have questions on this, then do keep them, save them, and bring them along next week. Thank you very much.